It's showtime, baby. Let's go. Woo!
Welcome to the show. This is Sports with Strawberry Ice. I'm your host, the Iceman, Jeff Trunapple. And as always, I bring you sports from a West Side point of view right here in the great city of Cincinnati, Ohio, home of some of the best wings in town. That's right, it is Midwest Best. If I get my, of course, I'm going to try to talk and do stuff. My cursor doesn't work. There we go. It is Midwest Best Barbecue. If you guys have not checked out Midwest Best, I highly recommend it. Check it out. They're out there on the east side. I know I'm a west sider, but I am promoting an east side barbecue joint. Go out there, get their CTB wings, get their Uno wings, check all that cool stuff out. Now, my west side peeps, we got the NCAA tournament coming up here. Next Friday, I plan on, not this Friday, next Friday, I plan on being at my favorite bar, Hail Mary's Sports Bar in Cheviot. They got a big-ass TV screen. I mean, it's like seriously the whole size of a wall where you can watch the games. They have multiple TVs. They got pool tables in there, dartboards, all kinds of stuff, good beer prices. Make sure you go check out Hail Mary's. And if you are looking for any door and windows, check out Meyer Door and Windows. I got them in my house a couple years ago. My house, well, actually today, the windows are open because it's like 70 degrees here in Cincinnati, which is shocking. But if you're looking for new doors and windows, please check out Meyer Door and Windows. And as always, I'm coming to you live from this glorious place down here. It's the Ice Cave. The Ice Cave is brought to you by T Properties. T Properties, quality housing for quality people. Check out the website at www.tpropertiesllc.com for all your rental property management needs and your rental needs. And I know Ryan and Andrew know this, that the Cincinnati Bengals hit the jackpot when we drafted Joe Burrow. He's going to be healthy. We're making moves in free agency. We got to get a D-tackle. That's one thing I want to get. But make sure you're geared up for the season. Go to jackpotjoey9.com. Get your gear. Remember, a portion of the proceeds go to the Joe Burrow Foundation. What is going on? Make sure you hit those likes, thumbs ups, hit the subscription button, hit the bell for notification. I am live streaming live on ZTV, YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble. And if you're listening to it on podcast, what's up? It's on Beanpod, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. What's up to everybody in the chat? We got Brad in there, Stranger's in there, Robert's in there, Rocket Bengals in there, Johnny Paps, my boy's in there, Paul Painter, Austin Art's in there. What is going on? All right, news of the day. The Bengals have released Nick Scott, which I don't really think is surprising to any of us. I'm a little surprised at how long it took to release him. But he is no longer a Cincinnati Bengal. We know Joe Mixon is a Houston Texan now. Wish him good luck. He had a very good, heartfelt thank you to Cincinnati Bengals fans, saying this place will always be his home. So that is awesome. Bearcats play tonight versus Kansas, 9:30. Don't worry, I took a long nap today because I work. Everybody who watches the show knows I work at night, so I took a long nap today. I plan on staying up and watching it. I'm probably gonna have no sleep tomorrow, but that's okay. That's what you gotta do for your Bearcats. That's why I'm wearing Bearcat stuff today. But we are talking NFL football, free agency, NFL draft. I got Ryan, I got Andrew. They are from Gridiron Grading. Let's get to them. What's up, boys?
What's going on, Iceman? Jeff, how's it going?
Good.
Excited to be on here, talk some draft, talk some interior defensive linemen. I don't know about you, Ryan. How's your night going?
Yeah, so far so good, Strawberry. Thank you so much for having on, and we're looking forward to talking about everything Bengals tonight. There's a lot and not a lot going on, so
right,
we're gonna get into all of that.
I was hoping there'd be a little bit more today, but we haven't. We're trying to. I want to go. If I see DJ Reader get on a plane, I'm gonna go tackle him. I don't think I could tackle him. Anyway, before we get into this, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is Gridiron Grading, and how did you guys get into it?
Yeah, happy to take that one there, Jeff. So we're lifelong Bengals fans. Me and Ryan, we met in college. We were Division III college football players at WashU in St. Louis, bonded over the Bengals, both being lifelong Bengals fans. And as many fans, and the Bengals were bad for a long time. We didn't win any playoff games. The only hope was the draft every year. And so we wanted to take what we got excited about and see if we couldn't find a way to game the system a little bit here. And so for the last 4 years, we've been building out analytical boards, trying to project which players are going to be good, which ones we think are going to fail. I know we were early on Zach Carter and Tyler Shelvin there, and we'll continue to pound the table that those were horrible picks. But we're trying to find the next great, players for the Bengals, and we do that through our analytical board, which we look at over 500 prospects every year, and have started to see some real success with it, some correlation there to NFL success, and happy to be doing it again this year with that Bengals lens.
Exactly. So I didn't know you guys are former football players. That's cool. All right, so with the with the free agency, and I've said this with the Bengals. Everybody's like, what are they going to do at 18? What are they going to do? I'm like, would have a better understanding of it after free agency. They got the safety covered. They figured out the tight end. They got running back situation, I think, taken care of. So those are not necessarily needs right now. You still have defensive tackle, which I think they're going to sign one. It's leaning more toward, it looks like they're not going to sign a right tackle, so I'm leaning more toward, I think it's going to be a right tackle at 18. Is that where you guys are at? Where are your heads as far as what the Bengals will do at 18?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head perfectly, Strawberry. Looking at both the offensive tackle and the interior defensive line market on free agency, they're both pretty thin at the moment, but I think there are at least some options that you can go to for the interior D-line. I know we mentioned Tier Tart earlier as a possible option still available, but really looking at the offensive tackles, I think outside of Jonah, if the Bengals want to bring him back, a guy like Josh Jones is a great swing tackle. But I don't think a team that's hoping to compete for a Super Bowl with Burrow and Chase on the roster is really going to trust him for a full 18 games out there. So hopefully they sign an interior defensive lineman in free agency, and that can pretty much pencil them in for the best right tackle, if not offensive tackle at 18. But yeah, you hit it perfectly. It's got to be somewhere on the trenches, and hopefully there is no need. But yeah, right tackle and interior D-line are where we're both looking at right now.
Yeah, and interior D-line, you talk about Tart. That was a guy that they put a waiver claim in last year, which that's where I'm kind of surprised that we haven't heard more talk. Which, I mean, with the Bengals, honestly, you don't hear talk. I mean, you really don't. I mean, Stone, nobody knew the Bengals were even talking to him until they signed him. I mean, the Mixon talk, now that's been happening for the last 2 years. So that, that was happening regardless. But that's where I'm. You're trying to read the tea leaves here, trying to figure out what's going on. And it's really hard. The Bengals don't let anything out. And I mean, I know Bengals Twitter blew up yesterday about trading for Justin Jefferson, and it's more tongue in cheek. There's no way in hell I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to trade Justin Jefferson to the Bengals for T. Well, one reason, because I think the Minnesota Vikings are in rebuild mode. So I think if they trade Justin Jefferson to anybody, it's going to be for multiple draft picks, not another expensive wide receiver. So I don't think that's even in the realm of possibility of happening. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
On the Justin Jefferson?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's tough. I don't know what the Bengals are doing. I don't know what Bengals Twitter, where that's I know we're having a lot of fun out there, but that seems like quite the pipe dream. I mean, he's a hell of a football player, but if I'm the Bengals right now, the interior defensive line is where that I think the NFL is telling us how they feel about this draft class with all the interior defensive linemen coming off free agency so early. And specifically, we mentioned Tart and actually just threw a tweet out there. We've been looking at the 2020 draft class specifically because the Bengals like to target those second contract free agents, and there really are none left. So I think as we think about the draft, that finding one of those young guys early is the way that they're going to have to go there. So steering away from the Jefferson talk a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it's more tongue in cheek. It's not going to happen. But and this is the concern we talk about with the interior defensive line. Michael Mann here with the backs. The rest of the division they're going to run the ball down our throat right now. Yeah, I mean if Zach Carter, like we talked about off air, Ryan, that Zach Carter is the only defensive tackle I think we have on the roster right now, if I'm correct. Because is that true? I think that's the only one.
It's pretty close to it. So
Yeah.
BJ Hill's still kicking around. He's
Yeah.
providing his incredible interceptions, but also some pass rush juice. But outside of Zach Carter, unless you're thinking of kicking someone like Cam Sample inside for the majority of his snaps and giving him a healthy snap upgrade in terms of total number of snaps compared to last year, it's a pretty empty room. I know that there are a couple other guys that have seen some play. J2 Faley's a name. Josh Tupou's a name that's been in there. But as far as everything that's on the roster, it's Hill, Carter, Tufele, and then some guys named Devonshire Maxwell, Travis Bell, Dominique Davis. So you're really dipping
Not a
into
lot.
names that are,
Don't
yeah,
forget
unless
Devonta
you're-
Maxwell, Ryan. He was the stud UDFA last year, but no, I don't think you want any of those guys out there. We're tweeting last night. I think, Jeff, you probably want to add 3 potentially in the draft at this point. They might need to. Otherwise, Zach Carter, you're just repeating what they did last year, and I don't know if you want that again.
Yeah, my hope is they at least, like I said, sign somebody. Armstead, I'd love to get. DJ Reed, I'd like to bring back. I mean, I would love them to sign 2 of them and then draft a couple. More to the trenches is always better. But if they at least sign 1 and draft 2, I think that's good. And the guy I've fallen in love with is Sweat out of Texas. I've heard he might be there at 49. No way he's not going to be there at 49. He's going to the first round. But he's 366 pounds. Like, yeah, but did you see he ran a 5.2 at 366? Is there any chance that Sweat could be there at 49?
I would say after his athletic testing, he tested like you would expect a nose tackle to test. I think there's a fairly strong chance that he's there at 49. I don't know if you agree there, Ryan, but it seems like unless he tests it really out of the water, we wouldn't expect him to be going in the first round. So I'm thinking at 49, there's a good chance there.
I think day 2 and early day 2 is probably the earliest we'll see him taken off the board if that's where he goes. Agree with Andrew completely. 49 is definitely a realistic landing spot, but I don't think he lasts to when the Bengals are picking at 80 or even 97 in the 3rd round. So it's a question of how much the team values that position and how much they value a guy that's truly an outlier from a size and athleticism perspective. And we've shared a lot of his data on our Twitter account, and he's a guy that's been high on our radar for the longest time, not only throughout the college football season, but really throughout the draft process. And we'd love that pick at 49, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where exactly he goes and at what pick that's going to be.
All right, with that to me, this would be perfect if he's there at 49 and the Bengals get a right tackle at 18. And there's so many right tackles that for beginning of this, there's no way Mims is going to be there, and then they got the guy. We all know the guy from Notre Dame is going to be probably the first tackle taken. Where are you guys at right now of what right tackles we might be able to get at 18? Because I've heard so many different names.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a few big ones there. I think Amarius Mims is one that we really, really like. I think he's got a very strong pass production profile specifically.
Does the 8 starts scare you? Because that's all he's had.
I think so. The 8 starts is interesting, and I think that's the reason that he could be there at 18. You don't often get a chance at a guy with Mims's profile unless there's something there. So typically he would be a guy that would be going top 5, top 8, but those 8 starts, that's going to be the risk. And at this point, I'm of the opinion after watching so many bad athletes being taken on the offensive line, bad prospects, that he's one of those guys, if you're looking for a bookend tackle that could block Myles Garrett in a few years, I think that's Amarius Mims. And so he's the first one. I think a few more there. J.C. Latham is a big one. I know Bengals fans are really fond of him. Waiting to see how he tests athletically, because I think depending on what that looks like, he might be a guy we would like there, but still waiting. I think there's a chance he could test a little poorly. And then Talise Fuaga is another name that he's cleared all the thresholds so far. His arms are a little short. I've heard people talking about guard a little bit, but if he's there at 18, that's another offensive lineman, specifically right tackle, that I would run to the podium for. I don't know, Ryan, if you have any other names you're thinking of there.
Yeah, as far as the first round guys are concerned, that's definitely where I have my eyes on. One thing I'll mention is that Daniel Jeremiah has been doing some great work looking at the top offensive tackles drafted in the past couple drafts. And I think going on somewhat 5 years in a row now, they've all been right tackles. So we've really seen convergence of left tackles and right tackles into really one offensive tackle position. So the fact that we're talking about 3 premium right tackles and the chance for some guys even in the mid rounds, like a Christian Jones out of Texas, a Javon Foster out of Missouri, or even a Kieran Omegajide from Yale, those are all guys that we definitely have our eyes on and think they have solid production profiles, but definitely would be in a tier, if not a couple tiers below those first three names Andrew mentioned. So there's a lot to choose from. But like you said, Strawberry, it's sort of a question of where does the offensive tackle come? Where does the interior defensive line come from? How do you navigate that whole thing, knowing what's there and trying to figure out what's not going to be there?
Right. What kind of scares me is, like Andrew just said, you said in a couple years, Mims would be ready to block Garrett and J.J. Watt. We need somebody to be able to block them now, and that's my fear with a rookie right tackle at 18.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to find that.
Right. That's where I keep saying I want them to sign a right tackle that they could put in now, a veteran guy. You sign him to a 1-year contract, which they're running out of guys that are out there. And at 1 year, maybe 2 years, and then you can draft this guy, and this guy can sit behind him. That's where I'm at, and the way it's looking with them not signing anybody, which who knows, maybe we get off this stream here, they'll have signed somebody. I don't know. That's the scary part to me because we got Jackpot Joey, who's again coming off an injury. I'm not, and we want to win the Super Bowl. I'm not so sold on having a right tackle solely as your plug and play right tackle. And the thing is, too, just put it this way, if they put him in there and he struggles, the only backup right tackle you have right now that I would somewhat feel comfortable with is Cody Ford. And I'm not sitting there saying that he's the be-all to end-all, but he's really the best backup we have right now. So that's where the whole offensive line, right tackle in general, is scaring me. The depth and whoever is going to start there. Now,
I think it's a very valid concern there, Jeff. Any of these rookies, I think, besides potentially a Joe Alt, and I'm of the opinion that if he falls into, say, the 10 range, you trade up.
Oh, dude,
he's a guy that you could put out there right away. Outside of that, I don't. There's a lot of tackles that I think will be good maybe in a year or two, very high level. But even a guy like Penei Sewell took a year before you really started to see that potential come around. So I think if you're looking at a guy that's going to really allow the team to hit its offensive line ceiling in year one, relying on a rookie, no matter which way you go, is, I think, a little scary. I think you'd probably have a safer bet picking a high floor, high ceiling interior offensive lineman if you really wanted to go that route off the bat.
And I know Bengals fans don't like this, and they hate when I say this, and I get lots of hate for this, but Jonah Williams, come on down. I'm not. I wouldn't push it past the Bengals to do that. Bring Jonah here because I don't think he's getting the money that he's not getting the money I thought he would get. I thought he would be gone already, to be honest. But that's still an option out there. Bring Jonah, sign it, get him for 2 years, draft the number one guy in the first round, and there you go. Now the other option the other guy I really like, and this is if the Bengals were to sign somebody like Jonah or something like that, Jackson Powers-Johnson. We got Ted Karras, who's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. He can play. Jackson Powers-Johnson can play center and he can play guard. So he could push Ted and he could push Cordell Volson this year. What's your guys' thoughts on JPJ?
Yeah, I think that's something that we really have our eyes on because, like you mentioned, you never want to have to rely on a rookie starting right tackle or offensive tackle in general to go out there and block some of the incredible pass rushers that are in the AFC North. And the goal of an offensive line coach is to get the 5 best bodies out there and hope that that creates the best offensive line. So if it's in the first round and that's JPJ, like you mentioned, he can come in immediately and compete for that left guard spot. I know there are a lot of people in Bengals fandom and Bengals Twitter that think Volson can still improve despite having come into the league as a 24-year-old rookie with a max athleticism potential and an FCS background. And Andrew, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're in agreement. We're not his biggest fans. There's definitely a big place to improve on that. And then if you go with him at left guard in your first year and you choose not to re-sign Karras in 2025, he's the perfect person that can slide on over and take over that center role, played all 3 interior positions and even some defensive tackle when he was at Oregon. So that's the kind of guy where it's not going to be the sexiest pick, but it's going to be one where your offensive line will definitely have raised that floor for at least the next 5 to 10 years.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat here. Everybody keeps blown up by Justin Jefferson. I don't think we're going to look. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get Justin Jefferson, but I don't see that happening. Now, Jackson Powers-Johnson. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and was he the one that actually was able to stand up Sweat a little bit. I think it was him. Or am I wrong on that? Was that somebody else?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I think they definitely had some matchups, but we'd have to dive back into the tape.
I don't remember.
I just remember the Arkansas interior offensive lineman Bo Limmer getting his spine.
Yeah, he got bent in half, dude. I'm like,
yeah,
holy
I don't.
crap.
No, Jackson Powers Johnson, though, like, to be real, he is a 21-year-old that's a freak athlete, has a lot of starting experience. I think immediately you have a better offensive line if you draft him at 18, put him at left guard, sign a right tackle. That's probably your easiest path, I think, to a clear, better offensive line that I would feel confident in year one, just because I think the transition is a little more seamless there. But either way, there's going to be offensive linemen there that I think make a ton of sense, are prospects we would be really excited about, which is something that's been a lot different than what we've seen in previous years.
All right, let's put it this way. Let's just go ahead and say that the Bengals signed DJ Reader and they signed Armstead, so your interior tackle is pretty set. So would the Bengals go offensive line back-to-back rounds? And if they do, who would be an offensive lineman in the second round that would be there?
I'm happy to take this one. I think as you get to 49, Ryan mentioned a few of the names. I'm not even going to try with his last name, but Kieran, the guy from Yale, I think he could be there. Patrick Paul's another name from Houston who we're really going to like. The worry with him is that he only plays left tackle, and obviously you already have Orlando Brown there. Mm-hmm. I think as you get to the interior, another name we really, really like is Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. That is another guard that would come in. I think year one, he's better than Cordell Volson on the offensive line. He tested like a freak. He had great production at Kansas State. If he was there at 49, you got a tackle, and then Cooper Beebe in round 2. I'm pumped about that. So I think that's one name that stands out to me in round 2, and could definitely go down the list as you get to Christian Mahogany from Boston College, Matt Lee from Miami. As you start thinking about rounds 3 and 4, there are plenty of names this year that we are really pumped about.
Yeah, the offensive line. It reminds me, the prospects remind me of the tight ends last year, which the Bengals didn't draft any of them, which still ticks me off to this day. I'm like, I don't know how you didn't draft one of them. But anyway, so I think the Bengals will draft. I think this draft is going to be big in the trenches. But I also do think they got cornerback and running back. Let's start with running back here. What round do you think the Bengals will start drafting running back? Because, I mean, they do have two pretty good running backs there, but I still think they want to add to that room. What round do you think, and who might be there that the Bengals could get? Ryan, I'll let you go first. I'll just people this time.
So I think there's two things to say about that. There's where we think the Bengals might take a running back and where we personally would take a running back. We're going to have a fair number of guys on our board with a second round grade, which when a lot of people in the sports world and specifically in NFL Twitter are looking at who the running backs in this class are, they're not seeing that there's a Bijan Robinson or a Jahmyr Gibbs. And when they don't see that premier top 5, top 10 talent, they start to push the entire class down. But this is sort of us coming out there and saying that there really is a lot of strong running back talent, and we'd be willing to take one as early as the second round. But as far as the Bengals are concerned, I think for them, that third round would be the earliest they look, especially now that they have the extra compensatory pick at 97.
Which is
but
huge.
after that,
it's
to get that. Such a big win. Shout out to Nick Corte on Twitter for figuring out that the NFL made a huge mistake in awarding 2-6 and bumping one of those up an extra 3 rounds. But
thank you.
Especially starting from the 4th round on, I think that's where running backs historically start to find their wheelhouse as far as hitting the position strong while also maximizing value. And then especially if they can pass block and play special teams, that's going to be really where you want to start looking from that 3rd round pick at 97 all the way through to the end of the draft.
All right, I got a question from Johnny Paps here. I see Andrew and Ryan, are you willing to trade T? If so, what's your thoughts on what we would ask for him?
I'm of the opinion that I would be looking to trade him. But again, we're coming from the draft perspective where we like to build long-term, and I see the appeal of wanting to win a Super Bowl this year. I just don't see them ever getting a deal done with him at this point. And to me, I would want to maximize that value. And as you see some of these wide receivers like Calvin Ridley getting paid, I don't know what it was, 4 years, $92 million, I think.
Yeah, at 60 of it's guaranteed. I mean,
yeah.
Calvin Ridley's good, but are you serious? I mean, I know they got the rookie quarterback contract, but it's like, good God, we just you're just throwing money away. I mean, that just hurt. That hurt the Bengals right there.
For sure.
That
no,
just gave Chase more money, T
happening.
more money, Justin Jefferson more money. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't think that T deal's happening, and there's guys on Twitter I trust a little bit more to run with that news, but I really don't see that happening. And from my perspective, I would be looking for an early second or a late one there. That's where I would feel comfortable. If not, I'd probably tag him, let him play again this year, maybe threaten with the tag again next year and look to trade coming off of a bit of a better season. But I'm not letting him go without getting something in the top 35. And I think there's wide receivers this year that could come in and make a pretty strong impact. And that's why you pay Joe Burrow, what is it, $55-60 million, is that you give him
something like
a high talent receiver. He can make it work. So I think there could be a lot of benefit from making a trade happen if the suitors are out there. But Ryan, I'll let you give your opinion there.
Yeah, you trading T or you keeping him?
In a perfect world, I think I'd trade him. It seems like he's really frustrated with the situation. And when you combine that David Mulugheta is his agent, I think it's a recipe for disaster as far as trying to do better than guys like Calvin Ridley out there on the free agent market. I'm going to echo what Andrew said. I'd love to get a top 35 pick for him, if not more. But when you look at the amount of talent available in this upcoming draft and the fact that someone like Deontay Johnson just got traded for a DB that was about to get cut and a pick swap, the market, unfortunately, for these premium wide receivers is looking a lot more suppressed than it was a year ago. So if the Bengals ever wanted to trade T, I think it would have been this time last year. But right now, looking ahead, I think hopefully he plays on the tag this year. I can't see him not doing that. And then, like Andrew said, you try and come back to the table during the season and maybe next off season, and you're kind of met with the same option. It's, do you threaten with the tag? Do you hope that he played well and sort of recoup some of the trade value he lost last year? But I don't envy the Bengals front office. It's a difficult situation, especially when you have a frustrated star player.
Well, I see, and that's where what you guys are saying he's frustrated. I don't know if he's frustrated. I know Mulugheta is frustrated. That's where I'm like, he puts a lot of stuff out there, so I don't exactly know how. I mean, it's $21.8 million. That's a lot of money for 1 year. And the thing is, according to James Rapine of All Bengals, in his calculations, which I don't do math, but he said that the Bengals could fit tag T this year and next year and fit him under the salary cap, which includes signing Jamar Chase, which I think is mind blowing. I don't think they're going to tag him twice. I've said this. I said this about Jonah Williams last year when he came out and said his agent said he wanted to get traded. Well, I said, you're just going to have to get your big ass over and play right tackle because the Bengals aren't trading you. T, you're going to have to suck it up and play. Jesse Bates, you're going to have to suck it up and play. Unless the Bengals get a deal that blows them away. I mean, they were going to let Carson Palmer retire. I mean, he was their franchise quarterback. They were going to let him retire until Oakland came with this great deal, and then they traded him. So that's where I'm. And I don't, like I said, I don't know if T's, like I said, I've met him, I don't know him, but this whole T's frustrated, T's went out of there, that's the agent talking. So nobody's actually heard it from T. You know, and I look at it the way it's going to play out the way Jesse Bates did. I don't think he's going to play in the preseason. He'll show up late, he'll sign his tag, and then he'll play. And then I don't think they're going to sign him twice, but that's just my opinion. And, what do I know? I'm just a dude with a YouTube show. I don't really know more than anybody else does here. Let's get to some of the comments here. All right, Paul Painter was asking, how many picks did we get for Mixon? We got a 7th round pick. Was that this year's pick? I never heard what year we got that pick for. Is that a 7th round this year?
So it's a conditional 7th round pick, and they haven't released what the conditions are, but a lot of the information I've seen swirling out there is whether it's based on play time or performance incentives like a Pro Bowl. It's either going to be one of their 7th round picks from this year, or depending on the condition, it's going to be a 2025 7th round pick. So you either get it this year or you wait till next year. But I think the big win is that you got something in return for a player that the team was pretty vocally about to cut. So it's still a big win regardless of what year it is.
And they saved what, $6 million or $3 million in dead cap space. I mean, that's pretty good right there. I mean, and the thing is, I said this on yesterday's or Monday's show. This is not you guys know the Bengals. You've been Bengals fans for years. This is not a typical Bengals move of Bengals of old. If you have a Bengals contract, you play that contract out. They don't trade you. They don't cut you. So it's and that's what I kept saying. Like, when you get signed with the Bengals, it's basically a guaranteed contract. They're usually, used to be anyway, they're not going to restructure like they did last year with Mixon. They're not going to cut you. They're not going to do anything. So this is all the new Bengals. Of we're to what the rest of the NFL does, and that's where I go back to. T. Higgins should go get as much money as he can because they'll cut him as soon as he sticks. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Let's see here. Zero interest sign. His agent. What's good I say? All right. At this point, all right. Everybody's just kind of talking in the chat. And my mouse, you get the mouse going and it goes ching ching. And you can't get it on things. All right. Let's get to cornerback here. Now before free agency tampering period, which cracks me up. Tampering period. There's no. It's free agency. That's what they're all talking. But the tampering period started that the talk was the Bengals might go out there and sign a cornerback. Now, Chidobe Awuzie has left and he went to Tennessee. I think the Bengals need to either sign a veteran cornerback or draft one or do both. So what's the cornerback market look like, and where do you think they might draft him at?
I know the free agency market hasn't really moved at all, so I think there's a chance that they're still gung-ho about signing one there. And I know as Bengals fans forever, we've seen them draft cornerbacks in the first round. They clearly value it as a very premium position. And so if they don't sign one, I could certainly see a first-round corner being the best player available. There's certainly some names that stand out this year. I know Quinyon Mitchell is one from Toledo, Kool-Aid McKinstry from Alabama, Nate Wiggins from Clemson.
I want Kool-Aid just for his name. I just want Kool-Aid for his name.
I think he'll live up to it with on our board too. So you could get a name and a good prospect there. But yeah, I could definitely see that in the first round. I wouldn't love it, but it's the way it goes as Bengals fans sometimes. Ryan, I don't know your thoughts on the cornerback market this year.
Yeah, I've been pretty vocal on Twitter about how I think cornerback is one of the sneakier needs for the Bengals team. And I think Cam Taylor-Britt's a good player. The jury's still out on whether DJ Turner can live up to that second round and athleticism hype. But especially with how often teams are playing nickel and dime, we've seen this Bengals attack the safety position by getting Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. So depending on what happens with Dax Hill too, there's definitely a corner need, at least in my opinion. Andrew mentioned some great names as far as the draft is concerned. And given the team's draft history, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Kool-Aid, a Quinyon Mitchell, or a couple other names come off the board early for them if that's where the team goes. There's been a lot of rumors about Christian Fulton coming to the Bengals, especially with all of those LSU connections. And then Jamar Chase's tweet with the word crazy starting with a K instead of a C. So that's definitely someone to look out for as far as a younger second contract DB is concerned. But yeah, we're still kind of waiting for those dominoes to fall in the free agent market and gauging how much these guys are going to be paid. Because if the Bengals do want to roll with CTB, DJ Turner, Dax Hill, Mike Hilton, all of those guys in some interchangeable positions on the outside or the inside, then you don't really want to pay a lot of money to a guy that's going to be your fourth or fifth corner in the room. So that's going to really depend a lot on when these chips start to fall for the cornerback market.
Now you
I do want to say that I don't want to see Dax Hill at outside cornerback.
That's where my head was going.
He didn't play it at all in college. His profile is a safety, a slot cornerback. He's a guy that I think they're going to have to get creative with now because he clearly didn't work at free safety, and there's nothing in his profile to suggest that he would work at outside cornerback. So I think this is now Lou Anarumo needing to find a way to use him. Otherwise, that pick, I'm worried, could quickly become a scary type of bust there because it doesn't sound like there's room for him as a starting safety.
So what do you think about him being the Mike Hilton replacement? That's more where I've seen it. I mean, that's kind of a high pick to move there, but that's where we might be at.
Yeah, so that's something that I definitely think should be in the cards for the future. And I'll just say that I misspoke before in lumping him with all of the corners out there. I was just sort of trying to get them all into one bin, but looking back to where he played in college, I think he had over 900 snaps out of the slot and somewhere around 300 as a free safety and in the box combined. So it seems like it's a much more natural position for him. There's definitely the athleticism there to cover some of those shifty slot wide receivers or even some of the more athletic and pass forward tight ends in the league. Like Andrew mentioned, it's maybe not what you want to see out of your first round pick only 2 or 3 years into his career. But if Mike Hilton does walk in free agency and you want a cross-controlled option, he's definitely someone that at least from his college profile, you feel somewhat comfortable plugging him in there and hoping he can revive his young career that sort of tapered off a little bit.
All right, exactly. Let's get to Giant Paps here again. He says, I saw something on Twitter that the Bengals are linked to Kendrell Fuller with a potential trade. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
So I believe he's a free agent, and he's definitely at the top of the market. And I know the Bengals met with him. He's a guy that's been a really good NFL cornerback. I think that signing is one that at this point, I know Joe Goodberry's been talking a lot about this, that, if you're not going to throw money at interior defensive line, you're not going to throw it at tackle, get stronger somewhere else. And right now, where the market is, there's offensive tackles that haven't been signed, there's cornerbacks that haven't been signed. So the Bengals are going to be sitting on a pile of cash when DJ Reader ultimately takes the Lions' massive offer, I'm sure. Then that needs to go somewhere. And if that's the top corner, that's fine. It eliminates a potential need in the draft that could open it up for something else.
So how much, in your opinion, I know you guys are more draft guys, but how much, in your opinion, would it be okay if you let DJ go, which I hate. I don't want to let DJ go, but you sign Armstead? That would be a comparable replacement there, I would think.
Better draft Devondre Sweat if that's the case, because you're sitting without a nose tackle, and there's not many in this draft. But yeah, Armstead would completely change the way the Bengals' defensive line has looked. I mean, the best pass rusher they've had in the interior, and since Atkins.
Right, exactly. Let's hear. Now we haven't talked about this, and this is a beginning of draft talk or whatever. Is Brock Bowers? With the Bengals signing of a Gesicki, I kind of lean to that's even less likely of happening, but you never know. What's your guys' thoughts of Brock Bowers? And I mean, it would be unbelievable. He would be unbelievable in this offense, I think. But I think it's more of a pipe drink. I think we got to get trenches. What's your thoughts on if Brock Bowers is there at 18? Would you take him, or would you take an offensive lineman?
Yeah, I think for me, it depends on which offensive linemen are still available on the board, because at least as far as our board is concerned, over the past 5 years that we've been doing this, Bowers will grade out as the number one tight end across all of the ones that we've looked at. And we truly feel that he's a generational talent, and we don't use that label lightly. Obviously, we'd love to see him test athletically, and we hope that the medicals are okay coming off of that tightrope surgery. But what he can do with the ball in his hands as far as yards after the catch and missed tackles forced is something that we haven't seen in a while. And it's better than what we saw with Kyle Pitts, and we know how early he was drafted his year. So off the top of my head, if you're comparing him to a Mims or if you're comparing him to a JC Latham, right now, I personally probably lean Bowers, just because looking at Gesicki's profile, he's a glorified big slot wide receiver. I think he had somewhere in the 300 snap range as a slot and less than 100 in line as a wide tight end. So that need for a blocker is still there, despite giving 3 years and about $10 million to Drew Sample. But Andrew, if you have any different thoughts, I'd love to hear them too, because I know we've spoken a lot about this.
Yeah, you know how much I love Brock Bowers. If he was there at 18, there's everything in his profile says he's going to be an all-pro tight end fairly early, and I feel pretty confidently about that just from what his profile looks like and doing it from the time he was an 18-year-old. So I think if it was Joe Alt there at 18, that's not going to happen. Then I'm going Joe Alt, but if
it's Joe Alt, I'm running. I'm running to the buddy of Joe Alt.
He won't make it there. No. But just as far as the comparables, Brock Bowers is a top 5 talent in this class, despite how loaded it is with top tier talent. And so if he's there at 18, I don't care if they have a need at tackle. I can't. As draft guys, we really want to go best player available as much as we can. Yeah. Free agency is for needs. And so Brock Bowers is the guy. I don't think Burrow has not had anybody at tight end that can do what he does.
That's why I keep saying sign a right tackle, sign a defensive tackle, and then it's best player available. And then, hey, you know, you could get Brock Bowers. All right, here, Preston's got a question here. Joseph Stewart is interesting at linebacker, second round, or Sweat. What you guys got on Stewart there?
I don't know who Joseph Stewart is. Josiah Stewart, is that? I don't know. I did some clear up there. I mean, second round. I don't know Josiah Stewart, Ryan. I don't know if you're familiar. Joseph Stewart, definitely I don't know as a prospect, but If we're in between the unknown name and Tavondre Sweat, yeah, I'm going
Sweat.
Tavondre
Take
Sweat there.
Yeah, exactly.
Tavondre Sweat is our ideal, I think, second-round pick if he's there at 49 or trading up. I think there's no doubt about it, specifically the way free agency has gone so far. If you want a nose tackle, he's your guy and probably the only guy in this class that can come in and play that position right away at a high level.
How would you like this defense rotation? You got DJ Reader, Armstead, and Sweat.
I mean,
I mean, it potentially could happen. I mean, it could. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
yeah, on paper, it's a dream come true. I definitely think we saw a little bit of a step back in production from Armstead last season. And if he's looking for anywhere in the range of that 17 million contract he was just on, I think that's devoting a hefty amount of your salary cap and specifically the cash as well to two guys that are on the wrong side of 30. And while they're great players, who knows what we can expect from them given the injury history and everything else going on from them. Back to Josiah Stewart, I think he's the edge player from Michigan.
Yeah,
as far as I'm aware,
he went to Michigan. There you go.
I think he might be going back to school just because I have no data on him in our database and he hasn't been our radar. But if anyone wants to correct me if I'm wrong, he is coming out. It's definitely a name for us to keep an eye on. But we haven't seen anything, so we don't have an educated opinion.
If we haven't seen anything, then there's no chance that he's a top a day 1 or 2 pick.
All right, Austin here. I got Super Sweat D-tackle wish list. My top 3 will be Tavondre Sweat, Cedric Johnson, and Logan Lee. We haven't talked about Cedric Johnson or Logan Lee. What do you guys got on them?
So Logan Lee is a defensive tackle from Iowa. I'll be honest, he grades pretty low on our board so far, probably late day 3. So that would not be my target if I'm looking at, earlier defensive linemen that can make an impact. And I think that's what the Bengals are looking for now. There's not many that we have in that day 1 and 2 range, which to us means if you have a high production score, that's somebody that we expect could come in early. And I think you're looking at a pretty limited list there. You have Byron Murphy from Texas. Absolute freak. If he's there at 18, that's a pick you want. You have Jerjon Newton, waiting to see his athletic testing, but that's another guy that could come in and play right away. Chris Jenkins from Michigan.
Yes.
That's another name that I would feel
like him.
Pretty good about there. I think those are 3 that I'm looking at right now, Ryan. I don't know if you want to add to that list.
I like
there.
Jenkins despite that he went to Michigan.
Got the NFL bloodlines too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great list as far as interior defensive line is concerned. Cedric Johnson is the edge player at the University of Mississippi, and he might have the size to kick inside and play defensive tackle. But what really stands out and not a positive way from his profile is that there's really a lack of pass rush juice. I think relative to the other edge players we graded for this upcoming cycle, he comes in at about just a hair under the 25th percentile as far as pass rushing is concerned. And maybe that gets a little bit better if you kick him inside more and have him going up against guards versus tackles. But like we saw with the free agent market, interior offensive linemen are getting paid and the league is valuing them as almost a premium position on par with some of the others that we traditionally think of. So kicking someone inside doesn't necessarily save their profile like it used to these days. So me personally, I'm probably out on a guy like Cedric Johnson until the late rounds, if ever. But some of the guys that
Ryan, I don't think they're going to be taking edges either. I don't see that being. I think you're looking at pure interior defensive line.
I'm with you on that because people said that to me. I was like, what are we going to do with edge? I'm like, we really need the interior defensive line because if we got ran on up the middle last year, even with DJ Reader there, with him not there, it was horrible. And if you get I'd love to get a 3-tech. We've never replaced Blariot. We haven't replaced him. That's the one, I like to throw 2 of them there. And if you get push up the middle, or a guy like DJ taking 2 guys on, that frees up the edge for me. So that's where I'm not so sold that we're going to do anything on edge. I think they're pretty set there, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I know Joseph Osai is one guy that we loved coming out.
Dude,
we still just waiting to see if he gets any run. They really haven't given him long-term run to see what's even there. And he is still a really young guy. I would love it. Sounds like they're high on him again this year. I think if we can just see him play 50% of the snaps, I don't know, 40 to 50%, I think there's still a really strong player there. And so from my perspective, I would much rather get some talent on the interior defensive line. I think there's guys at edge.
I think there's still a hangover from that very questionable late hit in the AFC Championship game that sort of soured a lot of people's opinion on him. But to come to Joseph Osai's defense, that's such a ticky-tack play. I don't think that should have been called
He
ever.
was
But
balling out in that
Yeah.
game. He was playing awesome. That's why I was so surprised that he didn't really do anything. But Lou kept saying he was injured. He had the shoulder and then he had the ankle or whatever. I was shocked that he did not make some kind of impact this year. I'm still a big Joseph Osai fan. I think
He's still only 23 years old.
right. I think he can make a big impact still. I didn't mean to cut you off, Ryan. Go ahead.
No, that's totally fine. And I completely agree with everything you said. If you can add him into the rotation and hopefully we see even a minor jump from Miles Murphy in terms of his production, but you can only play so many edge defenders in a game. And when you have 4 that we think are solid enough quality on the roster, it definitely removes it as a position of need either in free agency or the draft. So yeah, both of what you said is entirely correct. It's got to be up the interior with the trenches. And that's really where we need to see the biggest improvement. And that's where we're going to see the biggest change and impact from this team.
Now, we've been talking that I think this could be a trenches center draft. But we could address the wide receiver room because Tyler Boyd is most likely going to be gone. And I heard some rumor that he might be going to Pittsburgh, which would suck. But Robert here says, Johnny Wilson, wideout from FSU. What's your guys' thoughts on him?
Yeah, so you're looking at a boundary receiver completely there. Johnny Wilson is huge. He's 6'7", which is a complete outlier really for NFL success. But you look back to his Florida State profile, and in 2022, he had a season that was very similar to T. Higgins' final year at Clemson. We tweeted that comparable out a month or so ago. And so he also went to the combine, tested like an absolute freak. I know, Ryan, we were talking last week about some Mike Evans comparables there in terms of his athletic profile. He would be a guy I would like to take a chance on. Probably not until late day 2, early day 3 if he makes it there. Just because I think if you're keeping T. Higgins, I don't really want to see them using a pick at receiver that early in the draft. And so like him as a boundary receiver, another name we really like is Javon Baker out of UCF. And that's not replacing Boyd. But as you think about boundary receivers there, that's where Johnny Wilson would fall.
Ryan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to echo pretty much everything Andrew said. We were trying to find early on in the process who might some of the best T. Higgins replacements be, and both Johnny Wilson and Javon Baker came up as almost direct statistical comparisons and analytical comparisons, so that's a name we're super high on. A lot of people that I've spoken to and from what I've heard want to try and convert him to a Darren Waller-esque tight end, someone that you don't really have in line as often, but you can take advantage of mismatches against linebackers and safeties. But I think Andrew was perfectly correct in that this is someone you want to put on the boundary, have him take advantage of his size, and really go out there as a true X-style receiver. I personally would be comfortable taking him at 49, but I think Andrew's right in saying that whether it's 80 or 97 and onward, that's probably his true expected range. But just given how the wide receiver situation is unfolding, yeah, it's definitely some food for thought and something to keep an eye on as the draft unfolds.
Now, this is a thought. We haven't really had this since Samaje left. But Paul says we need a 256 pound fullback to wear at the D-line on shorties. The fullback's starting to come back. I'll put it that way. But I'll just, and I wasn't saying that Samaje was a fullback, but I do think, as far as we go back to running backs, we have the, I don't want to say scat backs in Moss and Brown. They're the shorter, explosive guys. But I do think we need to get the bigger running back in there. And we did touch on running backs, but specifically bigger guys for the short yardage. Who would be there, like we said, early third, fourth, somewhere around there?
Yeah, as you think of bigger running backs, I don't know if you want to spend a premium pick as I think about running backs specifically on
more like
short yardage guys.
6th or 7th round, probably, you're thinking?
If you're looking for purely short yardage, yeah. But I think from my perspective, as I think about running backs, and we did some work on this a month or so ago on 8 running backs that we really like that fit the Bengals profile. And you're looking for, as you talk about sturdier dudes, you want guys who are above 200 pounds,
right,
and potentially into the 220 range or so. So Trey Benson is the number one name that comes to mind as you think about a bulky, bigger running back, which neither Chase Brown or Zach Moss are. And so I would really like him at 97, a guy we really, really like production-wise, athletic comparable-wise, age-wise. Trey Benson is the big guy that we think could come in right away, take those goal line carries if you need it, but also could really carry the load for this team because I love Chase Brown, but I don't think anything in his profile really says long-term that he could be a bell cow type of back. Trey Benson would be the guy I would go with there.
What round do you think Benson would be? Is that a 6th rounder or sooner?
Oh, no. Earlier than that, Jeff.
Earlier
We're
that?
talking,
Okay.
I could see him going as early as late day, too. So I think you're looking
okay.
80,
I got you.
pick 97.
Okay.
Audric Estime is another name that is a really big dude. He weighs like 230 pounds, but you're probably talking around 3 or 4 there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you are looking at some later round running backs, I wouldn't classify these guys as bell cows or bruisers, but they definitely hit that 210-pound threshold and above. But Tyrone Tracy Jr. out of Purdue and Isaac Garendo out of Louisville are two guys that have really impressed us both athletically and production-wise throughout this process. They're probably going to be no earlier than the 5th round, even the 6th round, especially a guy like Isaac Garendo, who didn't get as much run with Jawar Jordan on that Louisville Cardinals roster as well. So I think those are some incredible options that can add a little bit of punch to what's already in the Bengals room with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. And really, if you're looking for, again, that punch, that special teams kind of running back, those are some guys that we think we would be willing to take in the later rounds to just be that RB3 or RB4 and be a solid contributor on the roster.
So where are you guys at on the Bengals running back room right now? If they started and with what they had today, are you guys good with that? Or me personally, I want a bigger guy in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think they need to. I'm of the opinion that they need to draft one again. Probably around 3 to 5, because I think that what Zach Moss was on a 2-year deal. You drafted Chase Brown last year in the 5th round. I don't think you can really count on that to be, your long-term starter. I'd like to see what he has a little bit more this year, but I would like to add one a little bit higher. And that pick 97 is one that stands out to me. You got that one in your back pocket now. I would be looking there potentially at running backs, and you could get a long-term starter at that pick in this draft class.
Oh, there you go. Then maybe we can get Benson then. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Robert here says, Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Thoughts and thanks for the input on the show and the time and effort.
Yeah, I think what stands out most from Braylon Allen's profile is unfortunately his freshman season at Wisconsin, because as far as production is concerned, it's unfortunately been pretty downhill since then. He has the size and he has the athletic capability to potentially one day be a lead back or an early down back for an NFL team. But when Andrew and I were looking at those thresholds that the Bengals typically look at, so a player's size, their elusiveness, their ability to both be a good receiving back and pass block, and also having a career carries number less than 500, it was just something that Braylon Allen really struggled with a lot of those metrics. And I think he provides some value eventually to an NFL running back room, but he's a different player now than he was as a 17-year-old freshman. So if he can bring that back, I'm absolutely on board, but the numbers are telling me that that's more of an outlier season than what we saw for the rest of his career.
So I was reading this comment. Kane brings up an interesting point here. Says, I don't think we want a bell cow back, just a big dude. And that's the thing is, I'm not saying we need a bell cow, but because this offense is a throwing offense, but we need a bigger guy just to like Hulk smash people,
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew. What?
No, I was just going to say, I think if you're looking at that, then you're, like late day 3. And if Braylon Allen is there, I'm not expecting that. Then, that's a range where it would make sense. Maybe you give him 5 carries a game on that shorter yardage. I think another name that stands out there, Kendall Milton from Georgia. If he's potentially there, he just barely missed our thresholds, but he's another bigger back that is different than what they have in the room today. So those are 2 names that fit being much bigger guys that, from our perspective, shouldn't be going in rounds 1 through 4, rounds 1 through 5 even.
That's awesome. I want to let you guys know we are doing a draft show the night of the draft, And if you guys aren't doing anything, I wouldn't mind sending you a link. And if you could pop on for a little bit, and we could talk about the draft. If you guys are wanting to do that, I meant to ask you that earlier, and I'm like, well, I got you on the show now. I'll just ask you. So,
Yeah, let's get it on the air. Absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to.
We'll have plenty of thoughts as that take goes on. No doubt.
So we hang out and like we did it all 3 days last year. We're not doing that this year. We're only doing one day. That was a lot. But anyway, guys, you've been on for 54 minutes. I appreciate it. You got a lot of good information, interesting stuff. Tell everybody where they can follow you and what you guys got coming up.
Yeah, no, we'll be on Twitter at Gridiron Grading. We're in the process of finalizing our board. We run a board every year that's live. We'll share the link as we finish it, but we'll be updating every pick live as it happens with our scores, the value that we're seeing out of each pick, and even live team values so fans can see what we're thinking of the Bengals picks relative to the rest of the NFL in real time and can know kind of who those top guys on the board are at tackle, at interior defensive line. But yeah, we'll be putting a lot of stuff out on the Twitter account at Gridiron Grading. And Ryan, if you have anything to add there, not much else. Appreciate you having us on, Jeff. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll just echo that again. We're on Twitter at Gridiron Grading. But one thing that's fun about our board is that we update it live as every pick goes. So not only do you get to see who we like before the draft starts, but as everything's unfolding, you get to see what's a good value, who's a bad value, where we would have gone differently. And it's just a great community to follow along. So we hope y'all can join us, and we're really looking forward to draft day.
Absolutely. And Andrew, I won't hold it against you that you're a Tweety Bird fan. Just to let you know.
They're going to be pretty rough this year, so I don't blame it.
That's funny because everybody keeps picking them over the Reds. I'm like, really? Like
that whole division is pretty bad. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll find out. Anyway, guys, I appreciate it. Well, I said I'll talk to you later off air about or I'll DM you about the draft night and how we can work that out. But I appreciate you guys.
Sounds good. Here's the
Thank
DJ
you for
Reader
having us.
signing. Yeah.
Yes.
See you
Hey,
guys.
look, if you find DJ Reader, go tackle him. Don't let him get on the plane.
Flying to Detroit, yeah.
Exactly.
All right, we'll talk soon. See ya.
All right, thanks, guys. See ya. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Go check them out. Gridiron Grading. Like I said, they're full of a bunch of great information. Go check them out there. And, yeah, that was interesting. I'm with the Bengals offseason, right now, I'm happy with what they've done, but it's not done yet. If they don't get an interior defensive lineman and a right tackle, it's going to be, for me, like they didn't get a tight end last year. And that's where I'm like, they got to sign DJ. They got to sign somebody. If you can sign DJ and Armstead, sign me up, baby. But it all depends on the money. And if it's true, what my buddy Bengals Bourbons was saying that they're squabbling over $2 million, just give DJ the $2 million. Keep him. It's worth it. Anyway, shout out to my sponsors. Midway Best Barbecue, best barbecue joint in Cincinnati. My favorite sports bar, like I said, Hail Marys. I'm going to be there next Friday. Check it out. Hopefully the Bearcats playing a game. We'll find out tonight. They're playing tonight at 9:30. But I'm going there. They have great drinks, awesome bartenders, like I said, a huge TV screen. You can watch all the games on a big-ass TV screen. Great place. Go check it out. Meyer Door and Windows for all your door and window needs. I got them in my own house. Like I said, today they're keeping the cool air. Well, it's not even, I got the windows open, but it's great. They're easy to clean. They look nice, and they are great people. So make sure you go check them out. T Properties for all your rental property management needs. Jackpot Joey, the greatest quarterback in the league. I thank you guys for watching this live stream on this glorious March 13th, 2024. I've been live streaming on ZTV Online, YouTube, Facebook, X, Rumble. If you're listening to it on podcast, what's up? It's on BPod, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google, Stitcher Play, pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you rate, like, and review. Leave a comment. Some more Cincinnati fans can find my podcast. Do me a favor. If you're on the stream on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. You're on Facebook, hit the thumbs up. Give me the stars. I'm monetized now again on YouTube, which is great. So if you guys want to support the show and give me super chats or anything, well, I'm about to end the show, but you guys can do that next couple days. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Tomorrow's Thursday. Me and Joe Farsing. We'll find some stuff to argue about. It'll be a lot of fun. Let's go Bearcats. Real quick, I want to say this. Bearcats shocked the crap out of me. When they were down by 16, I was like, dude, this is over. then they came back. They got a shot at Kansas tonight. Kansas missing their 2 best players. They're actually getting, I think they're favored to win right now. That kind of scares me because they're never favored to win. So hopefully, if they can shoot, it's the same thing all year long. If they can shoot and they don't turn the ball over, we're going to win the game. We'll find out. Watch it at 9 o'clock on ESPN. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. Throw it up. That's just sports, baby. See ya!